much. Thank you for invitation. I'm really flattered to be in such a company, and I would say from the very beginning that we are on the forefront of the eastern flank of NATO, and we have to remember it. Just 3 hours ago, I extended accommodation to the 2 families of Ukrainians in my country house, and I presume that they will stay there longer than 1 or 2 weeks. And many of my colleagues did the same. We will not have tents and refugee camps. We open our homes, our houses, and community centers for all Ukrainians running away from the war. Second thing is that right, we have security system in Europe. We thought that it's a solid system being built also with the support of the United States since 1970s. And the OSCE, the Council of Europe, European Union, NATO, all those are the, let's say, main pillars of the security system in Europe. And that, let's say, from our perspective, solid security system collapsed in the second decade of the 21st century. And I would say that all the old ghosts, not only from the Cold War, but pre-Second World War, they are now alive. We built the security system in Europe starting from the 70s, just to prevent the wars like this one going on in Ukraine. If you take a look at, let's say, the history of Europe, if we are, let's say, we start to dig, let's say, that old boundaries and the delimitation of borders in Europe, and the old glory of many countries in Europe, I would say that Poland would finish around, say, in the outskirts of Moscow, as it was before in the 17th century. Austro-Hungarian Empire will take half of Balkans. France and Germany will be still at war over some parts of the territory. And so on, so on. So this, you know, the scenario we have now, it's a pure nightmare, because we are now have all the old boundaries and all the nightmares about European boundaries awaken, and it turned out that the institutional inertia of the security system in Europe is there. I mean, we thought that all those institutions with thousands of people, thousands of troops involved, it really works. And the institutional engagement with Russia, it might help her to find her way, and find not only her way to develop, but also her place, a new place in Europe. What we see now is that Russia would like to come back not to the Soviet Union. They would like to go farther to the, let's say, 19th century status, but please try to imagine Europe in the 19th century. And they should be aware of the fact that it's impossible to go back to the realities of Europe of the 19th century. They cannot once again convincing all the people that Ukraine should not exist, Poland should not exist, Baltic countries should not exist. This kind of, illusion, or I don't know how can put it in a language of psychiatry, but it's really totally irrelevant. And if you take a look at the history and the statehood of all the countries in Europe, I would say that what we achieved with the support of the United States in Europe for the last 30 years, it was really a comfortable situation when all the conflicts, all the disputes, they really were, let's say, put onto into the libraries, on the shelves, and nobody discuss any longer the borders or the security problems in Europe. It was really something for the generation which went through different, the military conflicts, and not speaking about the 1989 developments. If we take a look at the security system in Europe, we can now say, okay, so what went wrong? Why those relations between West and Russia, Central Eastern Europe and Russia, they were totally wrong. I mean, in a wrong way. Means Russia's second thoughts were totally different. We thought that all those institutions are enough for Russia to feel the kind of leadership in the Eastern Europe. And I'm not speaking certainly about the Baltic countries or Poland, because we belong to the central or northern part of Europe, and it always was. But Russia's formula of engagement, I would say, maybe was to some extent directed into something which deepen isolation, or the feeling of isolation of Russia, and as it was also mentioned by Richard, that was kind of the say the feeling of losing the face by Russians and the national pride, and the national pride is the part of Russian national legend, and I can add to my curriculum vitae that I spent also 5 years in Moscow, and I can tell you that probably it's one of the roots of the conflict and the situation when Russia nowadays is still trying to go back to not 50 years ago, but 100 or 150 years ago to find its previous place. It's like, copying the example of Chinese strategy when they are saying that they had, let's say, 150 years of bad times, and now China would reach the previous level of the end of the 18th century, when China, together with India, both of them were the biggest economies in the world. And by mid of the century, China will once again, in the history of humankind, will be the biggest economy and one of two political leaders. So I follow the reactions of the politicians and scientists from the countries I used to work and live. And I can tell you that it was a really very mixed reaction for those developments in Europe. But I let's say, put it in a nutshell, it was a kind of misunderstanding and confusion. What really is going on? Why Europe used to promote itself as a role model for security system for other regions. Nowadays, it turned out that the security system is fragmented or even collapsed, and we have to start to build it a new security system. And we love to compare ourselves to Indo-Pacific, when the security system is very fragmented, and now it's started to being built once again, and to other regions. But nowadays, once again, is déjà vu for Europe, but we are on the verge of something which might turn to the not only regional conflict, but a global conflict. And let's say what happened in the first half of the 20th century now is repeating itself in a new form, in a new modern form. For us here in Central Europe is a big question also about the change of leadership in Russia. Because if you take a deeper look, and this is the last, let's say, last sentence in my intervention. So if you take a deeper look into the history of changing leadership in Russia, there is always a big negative impact on other countries in Europe when the change of leadership was too fast, or let's say was turning into the big, not international but domestic conflict. Thank you very much once again, and I'm now certainly waiting for questions. Thank you.